Hey everyone, it's Cajun DIY Diva, and we're making Marley Spoons steak and peppers. It's actually a steak with a warm potato salad. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. So here we are. This is everything you get with this meal. You get a really nice recipe card. It gives you step-by-step instructions. Um, if you're a cook like me, it's kind of a pain to follow these step-by-step instructions because that's not how I cook. This is the other meal, the shrimp and tomato bread salad. But we're making honey jalapeno glazed steak. It has a chutney drizzle over the steak and looks pretty delicious. So I'm re-recording this portion of the videos um, audio because I think I messed it up on the first time and I'm not that good technically, so please forgive me, but I'll give you step-by-step instructions on how to make this. So you get this bag, you get two different bags and each one has the ingredients. So here's what was in this one. It was potatoes, steak, bell pepper, red onion, jalapeno, cilantro, honey, some white wine vinegar, and then you have to have your own things when you get these kind of meals. This from meal services like this, so you have to have olive oil and salt and pepper. There's the grass-fed sirloin steak, and here's the directions. I'm gonna dice up and boil these potatoes, cut them into 1-inch pieces, and boil them, and then drain them. And you boil it with 2 teaspoons salt. I think you could leave that out if you are watching your salt. You could leave that out of the salt water. I did not peel my potatoes because I don't think it's necessary. You get these potatoes, the peels are so tender, and it just adds texture and flavor, and I think they're lovely. So don't peel the potatoes, but unless you want to strictly follow the recipe. So, okay, so I put my potatoes cut in cubes into the saucepan, medium-sized saucepan, and added water. It's supposed to go an inch above. You know how to boil potatoes. And you should, it says to put 2 teaspoons salt and cover with 1 inch of cold water, bring to a boil, and then simmer for about 4 minutes. So you don't want like super mushy potatoes. You want them tender but not too soft. Then you're going to prep ingredients for the rest of the warm potato salad. So I've diced my onion, bell pepper, jalapeno, and my cilantro, and I went ahead and put it in this bowl. And I'm going to add my vinegar, the cute little bottle it came in, and I'm going to add about half of that jalapeno, that finely diced jalapeno. Um, you know, you may want to use a glove to, not, it's not a good idea to touch jalapeno like that, fresh jalapeno cut, because if you touch your eye or your face, it's going to burn. So make sure you wash your hand. I'm pretty careful, so I'm not too worried about it, but do as I say, not as I do. So I use a portion, about half of that packet of honey. And like I said, the ingredients are in the, are on the directions. Now I'm adding some olive oil. You do have to have your own things like olive oil and salt and pepper. So I'm adding, let's see, that was 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. I'm using this olive oil I got in Texas. You can Google olive oil farms in Texas, Texas Hill Country. Now I'm going to put some uh, fresh cracked black pepper. I just keep my pepper mill next to the stove so that I can, use it in my cooking all the time. And I'm using some pink Himalayan salt, but feel free to use whatever kind of salt you have. I don't really purchase that, the round containers of salt with the pour spout. I don't use that kind anymore because those are higher in sodium. And the kosher salt or the nicer sea salts or the pink Himalayan salt is lower in sodium, so that's what I use. And you know what it tastes like? It tastes like salt. So go ahead and use a healthier one. But use what you have to make this. So now I am removing and putting aside about 2 tablespoons of this dressing mix. I'm just reserving a little bit of this for the chutney that we're going to make later. And I'm also reserving some of the diced red onion. Now the rest of it is going over to the stove. I have a preheated pan. You can see that blue flame under there. And I'm going to add some olive oil to the pan. Always, always preheat your pans when you're going to cook. You don't want to put that cold olive oil into a cold pan and then add your vegetables and they just sit in the cold oil. When you add olive oil to a hot pan, it just immediately warms up and spreads all over the pan. It just coats the pan so easily. And now I'm going to add my veggies to the pan, and you get a little sound when you add those room temperature veggies to the pan. And you want to hear that sound. That sound is like just goodness. It's the sound of goodness. So, one of the sounds of goodness. So, I'm adding my jalapeno and my onion also to this pan. So we're just going to saute these, and the directions say to actually cover it. I don't ever do that, but I did it this time just because I decided to follow what the directions would say. But I normally would saute this, let that onion and peppers caramelize. That's the optimum way, if you ask me. And I like to cook them till they're still a little al dente, not too soft. But I'm going to go ahead and do it because I'm trying to follow the directions. So here I have a garlic clove that I have minced finely, and I'm adding that into the dressing for the warm potato salad. So far we've got in there some honey, olive oil, cilantro, and jalapeno. So I'm back to my peppers are done. I'm going to remove them from the pan and put them into the pan. Well, I'm going to toss the potatoes into the peppers and give it a stir. And you just combining these ingredients. The peppers are warm, the potatoes are warm, and warm potatoes are essential if you're making any type of potato salad because the potatoes need to be warm to accept the seasoning. So now we're going to drizzle this dressing on top and just mix it up right there in the pan. I've turned my fire off, so it's not cooking anymore except for its own internal heat that is in the vegetables themselves. So we're just giving this a good toss to get every single piece of potato coated with that lovely dressing. Now you probably could substitute parsley for that cilantro in there also. So here is the steak that they provided. These don't look like equal pieces to me. One of them has a little bit of gristle, it looks like. But what I'm doing now is I'm salt and peppering these pieces of steak before I take them to my stove. I just did that on one side. Now I'm taking it to the stove. I've washed my pan and I really just wiped it out really good is all you need to do. I'm putting another tablespoon of oil in the pan just to keep it from sticking, and you see how with that preheated pan how easily that only 1 tablespoon of oil coats it. You don't need more than a tablespoon. So if you're a little too heavy-handed with olive oil, maybe you should measure just a tablespoon. I usually don't measure. I just eyeball it and do a little, once around the pan thing. So I'm putting these in here and you're getting a nice sound. That's a sound you want to hear anytime you put meat into a pan, especially steaks. I had it on high and I'm keeping it on medium high right now because I want a really good sear on these steaks and I want to cook them to medium rare. So now I am seasoning the other side of the steaks. So I put some pink Himalayan salt and some black pepper. And I'm just going to cook these long enough for it to get a really nice browning on the one side before I flip them. You really got to get that good char on the steak because we're going to slice these and they need to be, just a good browning on one side. So while that is doing, it's going to take a couple of minutes. So I'm going to use the rest of the honey and it was probably only about a tablespoon or so of honey that was in that pack. It was a very small amount of honey. Now we use our reserved cilantro, jalapeno, olive oil, vinegar mixture, and we're making a chutney now and added the reserved red onion to it, giving it a little taste to see if it needs anything. If you like more acid, you could put a squeeze of lime into this. That would probably be delicious in this. If you don't like cilantro, like I said, use like a flat leaf parsley maybe. And that would probably also be really tasty. And I'm just stirring it really well. Now, it's been enough time that there should be a char on the bottom. And there you go. You can see that nice edge to the steak. That is what you want to see. You want the steak to get that nice char on it. So, and it's only going to take a few more minutes, just maybe like 2 minutes at the most, to get a good char on the opposite side of the steak. That one side is really necessary to get the top side really charred in. When you get a good sear on the meat, it holds the juices in to the meat and just makes it really delicious and moist and tender. So now I'm checking it. I think it could go another minute. You can't see very well at this angle. Just the lighting isn't the best. Sorry about that. But yeah, I'm just letting it go for a little bit longer. A cast iron pot would be excellent to cook this in. This is a pot that I have that's very similar to a cast iron pot, so that it heats up really well. You want a pot that really conducts heat, is nice and heavy skillet. But cast iron is probably what I would recommend for this as the best cooking item that you could have. It's just a cast iron pot, and I didn't use mine today. I'm using this other pot that I love also, and it's just cooks in a similar way to cast iron. So now I'm going to remove these to a clean plate. And here's what they look like. And now it says to, make your chutney. And we're going to slice this and then drizzle the chutney over the steak. Now, very important, that was not instantaneous. I did wait about 5 minutes. You could probably wait longer. Now you can see from that cut that was with the grain, you need to turn your steak and make sure that you are cutting against the grain. You can see it kind of makes like little, you can see all the different little muscles. You don't want to see those straight up and down lines. You want the pieces. Now, there's my husband's fingers. He's reaching in to steal a bite. And, the dish is not done yet. But it's a sirloin steak with salt and pepper and seared in a hot skillet. So right here, I'm cutting off some of that gristle. I'm trying to trim it because there is a big piece of gristle down the middle of this, and I may not put all of that on the plate. The pooch might get a nice little steak bite tonight of that piece with the gristle. So now it's time for plating. And here's the picture that we're trying to recreate. So I wish my plate was a white round plate, but I have these blue willow plates. We're going to make it work. So I had returned the potato mixture to the saucepan that I boiled the potatoes in. so as not to dirty another dish. And that's something I like to cook, but I hate to clean up. So this recipe, what they sent was only for 2 people, and look how much food it is. It is a ton. That piece I cut up, that was just for 1 person. So you could easily feed 3 people with the amount that they give you. Now I'm just drizzling over the chutney. Chutney is a strange word if you ask me for this. It's more like, I can't think of the word right now. But anyway, it makes a beautiful drizzle. If you wanted low carb, try some boiled cauliflower in this, or you could even char it in the oven, do a roasted. You could do a roasted sweet potato, but there it is. There's a finished product, and it was very delicious, I have to say. Very tender. You could tenderize your steak before you cook it by pounding it, and thanks for watching.